Homophone are words that sound alike and have different meanings, and also have different spellings. Changing the way we do things may feel different, but the good ways it can end, there's just no telling. Book 31, Let's Not. We stopped at the corner and said hello to the crossing guard, Pete. He raised his big stop sign for us to cross the street. Suddenly a car zoomed past. We all jumped out of the way. Pete shook his head, saying, "This bad driving happens every day." Pete yelled loud, "Get off your phone and pay attention." The car slowed down when the driver looked in his mirror's reflection. Pete was waving his arms and pointing at the speed limit sign. 15 miles per hour, he hollered, or you could get a big fine. After school, we saw a line of kids waiting for the bus. We heard a big commotion and wondered what was the fuss. The school bus was driving away as a frantic teacher called out names. The kids missed their ride because they were on phones playing games. It was Saturday. We went to see a ballet dance on opening day. The rules of the theater were silence your phones and put them away. The room got dark. We knew the ballet was about to start when someone's phone began ringing, and it ruined the first part. After the play, we stopped at the ice cream shop for a treat. We saw some kids looking down at a phone cracked on the concrete. One of them was throwing a fit, not knowing what to do. His face was bright red. We could see he was in a stew. We decided not to say anything. The boy's feelings might be hurt. So we walked across the street to the mini mart to buy dessert. At the bakery section, we chose a tray of chocolate cupcakes. While waiting to pay, we heard a scream and the screech of car brakes. We ran outside and saw a woman with her hands on top of her head. The shopping cart was knocked over and the car ran over her bread. The poor woman's groceries were scattered all over the street. Luckily, the bread was flattened and not the woman's feet. Later, as we ate our cupcakes, we had a long, serious talk. People text while they shop, while they drive, while they walk. It seems like almost everyone has a phone in their hand, as they eat, as they play, as they sit, as they stand. We talked for hours about social media in modern times. Our conversation stopped when the clock rang 12 chimes. "Yikes," Jess yelled. "I better text my dad before it gets any later." Then she said, "None of us used our phones tonight. That's even greater." We all agreed the night was fun with good old-fashioned talking. Suddenly the pets ran to the door when we heard footsteps walking. Jess's dad came in the door and she jumped up to give him a hug. "Dad, we had a no phones night," she said, as she pointed to the rug. Mr. Ray said, "I think it's great you all accomplished such a feat. Maybe you should do that more often," he added. "That's really neat. Next week is fall break at school. I could use some help at the zoo. The cool weather will be here soon," he continued. "There is a lot to do." Early Monday morning, we stood by the Lakeshore Zoo front gate. At 8 o'clock, Mr. Ray would unlock the door. We could hardly wait. Jess said, "My dad has a job for us that might take all week." Then we heard a squawk and through the fence saw a beak. "Good morning, good morning." But it wasn't Mr. Ray's voice we heard. "Welcome to Lakeshore Zoo," squawked Alex, the talking bird. We followed Mr. Ray and Alex to a pond with ducks and geese. The picnic tables had boxes filled with colorful fleece. Mr. Ray said, A local fabric store donated all these blanket squares to use this winter in the dens of the hibernating bears. Sorting out the pieces, we found most of them were small. "Wait!" yelled Kaylin. "I watched a DIY video in the craft store at the mall. Cut strips around the squares, then tie them together with knots. Mix and match the fabrics, plain, stripes, plaid, or polka dots." Listening to the ducks and geese talking, we worked all day in this beautiful spot. We agreed to not use our phones. Instead, we agreed to not. To be continued.